next set of speakers. We now have with us Sonakshi Sinha and Ram. Hi, Sonakshi. Good to see you.
Hi, Vivek.
Hi. Hi, Ram. How are you?
Hello. I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. Pravya, do you mind pulling up the slide real quick for me? Super. Okay, folks, we have with us Ram from Quintype and Sonakshi, who is the senior product manager at Times Internet. Right. I'll give like a quick overview on why this specific session and why this specific session right after the editorial one. Right. As Prasad mentioned, right, the product team is the one that kicks into action the moment they smell an event is about to happen, right? And this could be a month in advance, a week in advance, right? But a lot of heavy lifting is done way before the event actually even happens in the first place, right? A lot of preparation goes in the background. A lot of infrastructure, a lot of fundamental stuff is done way ahead of the event hitting us, right? And this is exactly where the product teams come into picture, which is why we have Sonakshi with us. Sonakshi, obviously, we have worked with Sonakshi customer for the last 2 years or so. Sonakshi has over now 12 years of experience across some of the largest publishers in India. This includes ABP, Network 18, and now Times Internet as well. She's somebody who has dipped toes across functions, right? She understands SEO, data management, programmatic, monetization, SEO, right? In all, she's cut out for a product management job, which is what she is currently doing at Times Internet. Right. So actually, thank you so much, for being here with us.
Pleasure, Vivek. And I was also a journalist for 6 years, so.
Which means you really just cannot do anything else now, right? You just made for the newsroom fundamentally. Awesome. We also have Ram with us. Ram has a unique background. While Ram doesn't really, share the same experience of being in a newsroom, but he enables newsroom in a unique fashion today. Ram is VP of Quality at Quintype. Quintype is a digital publishing platform. They work with some of the marquee publishers here in India and across the globe. Ram again has over 15 years experience, right, of quality and test, right. And there is one thing which I've learned as a founder and an ex-product manager is that building a product is cool, right? Unless you don't test out the damn thing, right? You don't want to go in a battlefield with a product which is not tested, right? And I'm sure Sonakshi, who has been in the trenches, would sort of echo with this thought, right? So I understand that Ram has put out a bunch of extremely interesting slides for us. So Ram, why don't we go with you? But before sort of Ram shares the screen, right? I'll just sort of quickly outline this for all the listeners on the call. Product acts as a enabler in pretty much every company, honestly, right? Even in our company, product is an enabler. But it's a function that cuts across all the teams, be it ad ops, be it SEO, be it editorial, be it audience development and management, right? And product has multiple clients, their internal clients and their external clients, which makes their job extremely, extremely, extremely difficult on a daily basis, right? And what's sort of important to understand is that a lot goes in the background of building a product, of testing a product, and ensuring that it is ready for the D-Day, right? The D-Day when millions of readers are going to hit your website, waiting for news, refreshing consistently like mad crazy men, and product is the one who will sort of bear the burden of this, right? So Ram, over to you. Would love to hear what you have for us.
Sure, thanks, Vivek. Before me starting, Vivek, just want to add a quick thing. Whatever the product is, content is the king, right? So whatever tool we do, content is the king. We can't do much, the other way. So yes, so thank you so much. My name is Ram. I run quality in Quintype and also do solution consulting with a lot of publishers, our prospects, and existing clients. So let me share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Perfect. Yep, we can see.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Before starting this presentation, so what I put up is, like Vivek said, what's going on under the hood, right? The CMS product as such, specifically for a live event. There are certain things which we need to think before putting up certain features for in a CMS, right? So try compiling some list in the CMS, see that what are the things can go wrong and what are the items which we thought through or a publisher should be looking for in a CMS that potentially otherwise would have gone wrong. So probably I would like to start with a slide where what a list of activities a content creator would be really going through. These are items which we were thinking before zeroing in stuff specifically with the content live thing. Obviously, a few things could be obvious. Bear with me, please, so that it gives a full skeleton here. So yes, the content creator is going to think about: am I the first? Going to be the first one to break the news? Is it reaching all parts of the globe at once the moment I publish a live content, right? Um, how quickly can I create a live content? Is it going to create all the time to create, make one line push notification across, or is it going to be really quick? The other thing could be, obviously mobile devices, right? Considering the penetration of mobile devices, can I easily create the content using a mobile device? How quickly can I update the content, which is so synonymous to a live content, where as and when we create more content, far frequently we create content, we're going to update as well, right? So how frequently I'm going to update and how the CMS is going to help me on that day. The next important thing, obviously, in the previous discussion, Manasa was also pointing, discoverability is the key, right? So whatever we create, it needs to have the right engagement. Is the content is it discoverable enough? Is it getting shared? Is it getting the right traction? Once the content is out there. So these are things which we could think. We always continuously huddle and then we take interviews with our publishers and see that whether what other pain points we go through while organizing a live event or stage of live content, right? Live content can be several forms. Could be breaking news, could be a live blog or live page. Live blogs page more or less same, but the only small difference could be a live blog could be a a big chunk of content where for every event add some content, some paragraph kind of thing with a timestamp to it, and then as and when the event progresses, keep adding that. Live page could be a technically it's the same, but election widget or a live scorecard kind of thing, right? That we call it as a live page. Of course, streaming, FB streaming, YouTube streaming, and other audio platforms provide a lot of streaming. Why it is so relevant to the content creator? Nowadays, content creators do stream a lot of such events and then take a snippet of all these streams and then develop as a big story later. So take a small piece and then write, expand it and then do write-ups, and then the CMS should be helping for such attempts. Try to compile a list of same as 101s for a live event, right? At least this could be a basic list, but at least this many items should be there to cover a live event from the product standpoint. And I think in the last slide, I'm just trying to hint some technical part of it, but I'll try to keep that to the minimal. Mobile reporting, of course, a very heavily debated topic. Obviously, no one is going to carry their laptop and other things to a live event, and people on the field not going to do all the stuff. So how effectively I'm going to create content using a mobile device? Is it going to be the first call is it going to be a mobile responsive CMS, or it's going to be a mobile app where people can quickly do it, right? Both are okay. I mean, at least that's my opinion. Both are fine. Depends upon how well we create this, right? So if it is a mobile app, we went with the former. We went with a mobile web responsive CMS kind of thing. and packed, advantages, all the benefits, all the features are available in mobile. So we don't have to really cut down the features. But if at all, if it is a mobile app, better be it a little, it's relatively lightweighted so that, it doesn't really, let it be light so that it's easy to use and performance-wise, it's going to be helpful. And not necessarily packed with all the same features in the light mobile version. Yes, upload the media to the respective DAM. DAM is a digital asset management. Whatever DAM you're using, should be able to quickly take all the media, capture the media, and then send it. Not necessarily publish it, but at least capture it and then send it to the DAM what you have in your system. Coming to the workflow part of it, every publishing house, every CMS will have some kind of workflow, right? Someone will create, and then once the content is created, submit it, and then someone in the editorial hierarchy will approve it and publish it and all this stuff. This needs to be, can't be so rigid in this. It has to be a configurable workflow. Live event cannot wait for the whole lot of approvals and other things, right? So probably we should have some kind of customized workflow for live events itself. Some kind of short circuit would help. Probably every save event can be a publish event. Not necessarily need to go to the approvals and all those things, and we should be able to customize that for a live event so that the content creators can go easy with the whole workflow. SEO, I don't know whether it can be the second slide, has to be first slide, I guess. But like any other article, SEO has to be important. SEO is also important for live works as well. Just because it's a live event, we cannot take this very easily, right? So the first one is the schema. Where we call it a schema. Every different article will have different schemas associated to it. Structure, typically a live blog will have a schema called live blog posting, and so that all the so-called search engines and crawlers and Googles of the world can discover your content better. AMP pages, even though Google keep changing its algorithms and AMP is, I believe it's not so important when Core Web Vitals, at least taken priority 2 compared to Core Web Vitals in the last 2 months. But yes, this is still a priority, and it has to have a valid AMP page, and that has to be some feed which facilitates all the live content to reach different distribution channels, right? You can have in RSS feeds and other, so many consumers are going to consume your live content. SEO tags, be it all meta descriptions and keywords and all these things, how easily a content writer can capture these meta information, which is eventually going to help your SEO and other things. And how a normal article is getting developed in a newsroom, sitting in a newsroom, and you have all the time to develop an article. The live event cannot be that way. So how quickly is going to attach all the right tags, and can we have some kind of recommended tags and automatically pick up stuff from the body and then put it into the SEO tag and all the stuff. Those kind of things are important. Of course, breaking news types, push notifications and other things, right? Automatically sharing into the share social wall. We can't really take time to, take another copy, publish the article first, and then move to a social wall. It has to be automatic the moment the story article is published.
Yeah.
And also, sorry, you're saying something?
No, go on, please. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So the ability to convert a breaking news into a full featured story later. That moment you publish a breaking news, probably swiftly convert that breaking news into a full featured story later. Last part of this before the discussion panel. So how easily we can manage the homepage, landing page, right? So while the content is getting updated, no one has the time to come back to the homepage and then curate the content what we have on the homepage and other landing pages, right? Some automatic curation needs to be there, and better be it based on the engagement, how well the story is trending, how many views or shares it's getting, so that bring it up accordingly, right? Or relatively, that could be other parameters based on which you wanted to curate the content and put it into the homepage, right? So those means are going to be highly important, and of course, no one want to have a relatively outdated stories in their landing page and homepage. So automatically bring up the latest stories and not only engagement but also the timestamp based stuff. Last but not the least, the updates, right? The tech part of it. If the content needs to be available earlier and quickly, there are few factors under the hood, right? The right TTL value, we call it time to live, how fast we purge the values, propagate the changes everywhere. the right CDN partner, whichever CDN partner you're picking, so that the content is available all across the globe immediately. Infrastructure side stuff, how easily we scale up, scale down based on the traffic. At live event typically may go viral. So how well you cater those things. The caching purge is a key. Typically a CMS system will have multiple caching layers. Database to API to front end to the CDN and all the stuff. So all the the CMS is responsible to ensure every single update cuts across the caching layers, and then the update is available across. That's very important. That's something to look forward in a typical CMS system. I just put two samples here. Typical. This is the one live log from Quint, the typical live log where with the timestamp and events updated to it. Sorry. And this is one other famous way of using the live log could be, today's news. Put together one live log every day and then put today's news in it, and then keep updating the same live log and then close it by end of day with all the relevant tags. That's another way we have seen. This is from, I think, Wicked. So that's pretty much I wanted to put it before the discussion. Probably, Vivek, I think you should take the question at the end, right?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. So we've obviously heard from Ram, and I think what he presented was extremely important because what he's given to us are frameworks and processes and possible bottlenecks around which operations should be designed, right? What will be really interesting to now do is hear from Sonakshi in terms of how much of this is actually possible by somebody who is actively dealing with multiple teams at a scale of India's largest publishing group, right? So actually, let me sort of just start with by throwing you on the deep end of the pool, right? What mistakes can young digital newsrooms avoid when they're covering live events? And what is also important to understand that Times is an absolute exception, right? Times, HT, and DV are absolute exceptions because they're extremely resourceful. Right? They have access to not only money, but also extremely smart people, technology, and so on, right? Young newsrooms would not have access to those sort of setups, right? What would be your advice if you were to sort of set up a newsroom today, scratch up, right? What kind of mistakes would you want to always avoid for?
So the first thing, if I'm a young newsroom, is to first figure out what is the content expertise of my editorial team. Are they text editors? Are they video editors? Are they good with, talking, or are they social editors? These are all 4 different types. People generally club editors together. That's the biggest number 1 mistake. Talk to your editor first, who is going to feed this event for you. Understand where their competency is. Choose your format. Step 1. Is it a text live blog? It is a social live blog? It is a video live blog? Or is somebody doing a podcast as a live blog? In this day and age, that's also an option. Wasn't 5 years ago. Figure out that first. Once you figure that out, basis the event. The second thing actually the product manager should look for is if any data is required. For example, Olympics. There is no Olympic live blog without a medal tally. And there is no free data available. Do not make the mistake of assuming that you'll run a spider on the web and some cool engineer is going to fetch that data for you, because you may get into trouble. Do it right, plan it, beg, borrow, steal. There are enough companies, in this ecosystem to sell you that data, because that will give you 2 advantages. You don't have to worry about copyright, and maybe there's an API limit that does not allow you to fetch more than 500 times. It will stop those issues, which it's difficult to see from the naked eye sometimes. Second, it will stop, any issues with the fastest update available. People may have the data, but to save their infra cost, they may slow down the updates for you to maybe 1 minute, and that's catastrophic for sports events. It has to be 5 seconds at times. In elections, we used to do 1 second. It was that fast. So figure out your data. If the event calls for it, in most cases, it will call for it. The third is figure out what kind of visuals do you have. And this, I'm talking about a young company. Is it just photos? Is it just embeds? Is it both? Is there video? because then you can just focus your energy on building backend for what is available. The world's your oyster. You could build for everything, but if on the D-Day, our editors or our reporters are not able to source videos, all that time spent to build support and scale videos and stream it like that has gone to waste. It's no point. One has to think very clearly if one is a young newsroom. And the last is the biggest mistake is not paying attention to exactly the steps Ram listed out. Your CDN has to be good. Your cache or TTL has to be less than 1 minute. And then you have to just see that your server team is not going to cry because of whatever bills that are going to come. They should be having an Amazon or something subscription that does not, burn a hole in the pocket for auto scaling. What if you go viral? If you go viral and your cost or your contract is not optimized, whatever money you earn through the 10,000 ads is going to be sucked away for a bad, CDN plan or, auto scale plan. This is not apparent to product managers typically because we're not supposed to, at least in a big organization, there are teams, but in a young organization, maybe product will have to take, that step ahead and make sure that everybody makes money, even if it's 10 rupees. It should not be minus 10 rupees. So there the product manager has to think so that the PNL of that tiny event kind of works in the favor. And then you can send out those emails to your stakeholders or management that, sir, done. First live blog done, X amount of money made. That's the framework I would follow and advise young product managers to quickly plan it out.
Okay, that was an exhaustive list of events, right? It's always things to sort of do and avoid as well, of course, right? Now, so actually, a lot of the news is consumed by the so-called millennials, right? People like you and me, right? And we're also the generation that loves the 5-inch device. We're the thumb scrolling generation, right?
Yeah.
And I love the point which you spoke about earlier, which was to get your format right and finalized, because that's where everything starts from, right? We fortunately are a very video first, mobile first generation, right? And this has been a very recent change, at least in the Indian context. Right? Last 4 years, we've seen a spike in everything mobile and everything video, right? Now, how has this impacted the product teams within a digital newsroom setup?
The first and most apparent pressure that we get when I'm talking about a big organization where I have the formats, I have multimedia, and I have the traffic, is optimizing for page speed, which is now more and more important with Web Vitals. I can optimize obviously by having an AMP link to the live blog. It's a separate schema, but AMP has its restrictions, and it also requires 1 extra hour by the resource to optimize the AMP. So speed of the page with the constant updates, multimedia, CMS throwing 30-second updates on the same page, my UI, kind of processing it, giving signals. That's problem number, 1 that happens there. And after that, I would say, since, my lens is more of a mature newsroom, not a young one, for me, deciding how to do multimedia also becomes like a discussion in every new organization. It was different at, the different organizations I worked. For example, my previous organization was very YouTube friendly. Everything was on YouTube. So I don't have to worry about streaming a video. Get the embed, place it, it will play beautifully. YouTube bears the cost of streaming. Current organization and previous organizations, they have their own products for streaming, be it audio, video. So I just need to make sure that, my product team on the other side, the audio video side, can support. In most cases, of course, if they've built something in-house, it's good enough. But I just need to, make sure that the upload and everything is in sync, working, and there are no challenges there. Right. Third is, once you do all of this, there's format and then there's UI and UX of it. The point that you mentioned about millennials and the way they browse, at least for a mature organization, the UI has become a more important part because my format, CDN, backend, SEO, everything has been set for the past 3 years. Yeah. It's all sorted. Format, however, keeps changing. If I'm updating 10 updates, should I show a bubble that tells the user, oh, click on it, there's something new? If I have, a young user, can I reel them in by, making the UI more TikTok-y or Instagram-y? Can multimedia, follow vertical cards, which is very easy to think about, but on browser, it is so tough. The nitty-gritties, how will my video go to 916? It'll go out of the viewport in a tiny iPhone 5. So it's a nightmare. I've not touched it personally because we don't have the bandwidth right now, but it's a true problem. Like how to get vertical videos to run like Instagram on the browser. It's tough. So that's how, I think right now I think about all of this. It's all a mesh of thoughts, but
yeah. No, very, this is extremely interesting, right? So help me understand. When you are covering massive, extremely well-planned events, right, such as, let's say, the Olympics, for example, or the IPL, right, or the elections, or the budget coverage, and so on, right? In these cases, right, these are almost format agnostic events because content will flood in across formats. There'll be op-eds on performances. There'll be live analysis. There'll be live commentary on the events, right? And there'll be also a massive UGC play as well, potentially, right? How does, and like, Ram spoke about the live page template, the live blog templates being very exhaustive and sort of covering all these things, right? My question to you is, how does UGC fit into this last scheme of things? Because a lot of people want to express, a lot of people want to comment, want to share their emotions, right? And there is an SEO opportunity there, hidden somewhere there in the content which gets created for you at no additional cost, right? So how do you look at that?
So UGC personally, and this is personally, I'm saying because mixing my journalistic and product and digital experience, I'm not a fan of integrating UGC personally. I'm like kind of emphasizing on this. Views are personal only. I don't like it much because it brings a whole lot of infrastructure issues. It's not about just opening comments. You need to moderate for abuse. You need to moderate for spam. You need to moderate for clutter, as in good comments getting brown. It's another product in itself first. But if I were to integrate UGC, first I'll pick out the right topic. For example, a cricket match makes sense. If there's a sixer, I would want people to react. It's very positive, uplifting news. It's very emotional for people. Olympics again. A the coronavirus live blog? No, I will not. A live blog on a serious news event like elections, I would think twice. It's a democratic procedure. Why do people want to express an opinion? They're already doing it on social media. And it's a very high emotionally charged. I would not recommend. I would not recommend it to my management. If they decide to go ahead, yes, we will do that. So first, figure out which content is worthy of UGC. Second, if we do decide that, okay, this piece needs UGC, we need to think about what does it mean? Do we just want a reaction from people, which could be thumbs up, thumbs down, emoticons, what you see when you watch a match on Hotstar, on the app, just flying, just interactions. Do I want commenting? Why it's important? Because the tools available to make them happen are completely different. Some things can be built in-house, some things cannot be built in-house, something can be built in-house, but it'll take 3 months to 6 months. Yeah. Many products in the market that you can just buy off the shelf to make that happen. So that's why that decision is important. Third would be any content system where there's UGC requires moderators and manual moderation. Your editorial team should be up for it. It's taxing, it's time taking. They don't want to get involved because there's actual news happening than moderating content, and interns can't do it. Interns are not the right people to do it. So I personally always get stuck there. Everything is done. I need a human layer of moderation. Who's going to do it? Nobody. Who's going to do it? So it's going to stop at who's going to do it. And otherwise, yes, integrating comments is possible through Facebook comments, a simple plugin. Could be, a product like Google used to do very well in vernacular with SEO benefits. Could be some other commenting software. And if it's just thumbs up or reactions, that can be built in-house because numbers integrity is not a problem. You just need to press a button and something should show up and some reactions. It's just a signaling thing, not an analytics or a proof-led concept that can be done in-house. So those are the choices or thoughts I'll put across the table for UGC when discussing that karna hai bhi ki nahi, do it or not. I am a don't do it.
Yeah, a quick thought on that, right? Probably,
Sure.
I think I agree with Sonakshi on the UGC bit, right? Especially commenting part. I know typically when we were discussing about adding UGC as a feature and comments and reactions, custom reactions, all that stuff, there was a big debate on whether should we convert the comments. I mean, if at all there's a viral comment kind of topic, should we automatically promote it as a story article itself and then start looking at it? I don't know. Believe me, last 6-7 years, hardly any takers for that. Not many people. I mean, all those UGC, all the tech things are there. All the means to convert a comment, viral discussion into a story, all those things are there, but hardly any takers, right? So compared to relatively comparing the number of people commenting, reacting to a page and replying to a thread and all the stuff, how many comments can be or eligible to promote as a story, full-fledged story, I don't know. So we kept it separate from the product side, right? It's UGC, which can be automatically syndicated into the CMS, and the comments, which can directly go into, comments.
Yeah.
And yes, moderation problem is true, Sonakshi, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Even we tried putting automatic and all that stuff, but nothing works. Nothing works.
Yeah, see, because and it's a very important question, right? And I think it's some of all the questions which we got from the audience, this one just stood up right over here because it appears very cool. What you can't deny is that UGC is not cool. The coolness quotient of the have UGC statement is very high, right? The practical execution problems with the same statement are also extremely high, right? So I think, the perspective which you sort of shared here is extremely important for people to understand that it's not like a button which can just, toggle on and toggle off, right? There is a lot which will go in the background to sort of run a UGC show. Okay, so now I want to sort of also talk about so Ram spoke about a light-headed CMS which enables journalists on the ground who are covering news to push content back to the newsroom and stuff like that. Right? But that's of course extremely important. Right? Now I want to talk about scale for a minute. Right? A lot of newsrooms are with these events, whenever you're breaking news and whenever somebody has exclusive content which they are preparing for, or which they are broadcasting, right? The one thing which is almost sure is there's going to be a flurry of traffic, right? And I understand that we do not have engineering teams right now on the call, right? So we can sort of do our bit to offend them. So what is it that sort of goes? How do you guys sort of just plan for that as product teams? And Ram, your perspective will be extremely important because you provide that big into the Quintai platform at some level that nobody has to sort of worry about scaling up and stuff like that. But it's actually, first to you, right? How do you predict for scale, if at all?
So very simple steps. First of all, any website will have different content templates from the tech side, not the user side. The live blog and the homepage, these are two templates that should always be separate, very easily identifiable by your server teams. It could be URL identifiers or whichever way. Now, why separate? Because across your site, your cache time would be about 30 to 40 minutes, in some cases 3 days for older articles. And when you are Times Internet, Network 18, NDTV, it's very important to have that large cache, time. For live blog homepage, you cannot have that ever. So it'll be either 1 minute or less. On election days, could be reduced even further because that's the kind of data flow that happens. And it's a game just till, 8 to 11 a.m., 3 hours.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, separate your template so that your server teams can easily set separate rules for them. That's half the battle won. The next step is basis your content update volume, decide on an optimum cache purge or time to live, for your page. Ideal recommendation is 30 seconds to 1 minute. Do not go beyond 1 minute because what we've seen, it does not work out, at least for live events. 1 minute editors, at least in large organizations, sometimes publish 5 to 6 stories because there's a large team sitting. The third is the interface powering your live blog, the page on your CMS has to be super easy to hyperlink, connect all other content pieces being filed on your site. Say, and there's always an editor who's moderating it. Always factor in multiple usage of the same live blog, so that if the editor, wants, especially on election days, they can put 2 editors to manage that, to optimize for speed. And so your CMS should allow 2 people to edit the story. It's a feature in itself. It needs to be planned, but very useful for organizations that are large. May not be useful for small organizations, 1 person there. So that's how, we think about scale, input, output, both ways. So your CMS and your front end has to factor in. And of course, the last step is say no to heavy features that are not going to lead to any upside, and put your template at, disadvantage. Like if the editors keep insisting, nahi, put a live TV on top. We are there to ask, sir, why? It's going to slow down your page. Why can't you just take snippets from your live blog, take it from your Twitter, embed it as a post? Why can't you, do it in some other ways? And especially when that live TV is hosted internally with the organization, technology may not be as good as YouTube. So stop people. Like there is no proof that putting a live TV will get you more users. I have not seen it in 5-6 years. Yes, quick content, different types, does get you good users. SEO optimization gets you 10x users. So that's how it should work.
So actually, you just dropped a bomb right now on the audience. But I'm really happy, that as product managers, I think the biggest challenge remains, going back to all different things and saying, sorry, I cannot do this to the user. I cannot do this to the product, right? And that's probably, why, by the product role, continues to be extremely challenging. No matter which company you're working with, right? It's just the fact that you're at the intersection of so many functions makes it equally exciting and equally challenging as well, right? Yeah. But this has been super exciting and superbly insightful for me personally, right? I do have one last question for both of you, right? We're now increasingly seeing role of AI expanding within the newsroom setup, right? I have not seen specific examples in the Indian context yet, but I'm aware of that of the fact that Bloomberg, for example, in the US, uses AI on their financial stock coverage news, right? One, what do you, as a product person, right? What's your first reaction to the introduction of an AI based editor who is facilitated, and the editor now does not have physical limits on content production. That editor can churn out 100 articles in a split second, right? What's your first level reaction to something as powerful as that?
It will not work out. I don't believe that computers right now can replace our editors or journalists. No, they cannot. Yes, they can churn out stuff, but they cannot get news from sources who do not exist on the internet. Yes. Does it become a very powerful curation tool if Times Internet or NDTV and Network 18 is publishing 1,000 articles a day, sometimes 2,000? Can they curate, read all of that, and maybe publish a live blog contextual to Vivek, contextual to Ram, contextual to Sonakshi basis what I've been reading on the site? It makes, me salivate that, is it possible? Can a live blog be contextual to a user? Because we should not limit live blog or live formats to a event. What's happening in a day contextual to you is also a live update. There, that editor is the only way I can achieve it, because manually, there is no use case that can justify it. AI, always.
Slightly differing. Majority of the points I agree, Sonakshi, but slightly differing. While automatic curation and all these things, yes, dangerous, I agree with you. But the supporting tools, right? Today, we have done this in the past, saying something like automatic meta keyword segment, recommended tags, how easily we can, all the editor, the content writer has to do is frame the content, and then all other tags and the images, captions, and other things pre-fill. Those kind of supporting tasks can be done through AI. The other part, what you said, yes, that's dangerous. I agree. Not sure that how much we can do for live event, but for a normal article, the infinite scroll feeds, very contextual to an individual reader. Can we start supplying the next infinite scroll articles and all this stuff? Those can be done, and I think a lot of publishers are doing that now. How much successful, I don't know. Sometimes can be very biased, but yes, all these things are possible. Probably a separate section where recommended, personalized for the end user, and geography based content and all this stuff can be done. I mean, all these things are coming up now. Not completely matured, but all the tech infra feasibilities are already in place. I mean, ready for people to consume.
Yeah. And we use it extensively, at least here at times. Personalized feeds are created for certain products. It's done in-house because we have a very, very powerful ad serving system called Columbia in-house here.
Yeah.
So yes, feeds and all we generate, but writing a piece of content, no computer has achieved what, say, a Rohit Saran would write at times internet. He's a person. So there, I don't believe it's still there yet.
Probably 2 years down the line.
I say 5 at least.
Hopest. That's what we live by. But guys, thank you so much, for joining us. Right? This has been super exciting, super insightful, right? And we probably got like a sneak peek of what really goes on in a product manager's daily routine of engaging with so many functions, and what RAM must be tackling with on a daily basis, and enabling teams like Sonakshi's and so on. Right. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Really appreciate it. Right. I hope this was fun for you guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ram.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.